People in my country think that they are very good singers, so they enjoy karaoke. People in my country regard themselves as being talented singers, so they enjoy karaoke. I was very happy when I got my exam results. I was over the moon when I got my exam results. We should try to produce fewer greenhouse gas emissions. We should try to reduce our carbon footprint. Some people in my country are very, very poor. Some people in my country live below the breadline. I live in a rich part of the city. I live in a fairly affluent part of the city. In the end, we arrived in a strange part of town. We ended up in a strange part of town. People in my country are spending less money because of the crisis. People in my country are tightening their belts because of the crisis. In my hometown, the streets are very, very dark at night. In my hometown, the streets are almost pitch black at night. I think his reaction was a little exaggerated. I think his reaction was a little over the top. Although they played well, they lost the match. Even though they played well, they lost the match. In my country, if you are rich, you can do bad things and not get punished. In my country, if you are wealthy, you can get away with murder.
A quick word about idioms. Do not try to show off to the examiner by using an idiom in every single sentence. Idioms should be used appropriately. Think of them like spices in a cooking recipe. If you are not confident about using idioms, it is safer not to use them.
How would you describe a town like this? Most candidates would use words like beautiful, nice, or pretty. These are very common words. A more advanced learner might use a less common synonym, such as picturesque. Picturesque means very pretty, like a painting. To get a very high band in the IELTS speaking test, it helps to use some less common synonyms in your answers. Now, you don't have to use them in every sentence, but it helps to use some vocabulary like this in the test.
A nice sweater is a suitable gift for somebody's birthday. I'm waiting for the right moment to move abroad. Too much traffic is detrimental to the environment. Overall, it was a dreadful holiday. I think smoking should be forbidden in public places. My grandparents live in a picturesque little village. The view of the mountains is breathtaking. I enjoy going for walks in scenic places. He is a gorgeous man. He is very good looking. I think I've made a substantial improvement in my English. Unfortunately, I find my job a bit dull. It was an uninspiring book. My job can be very hectic at times. Flats in my country are rather inexpensive these days. Using public transport is a low-cost way of getting around my town. Using the internet for research should be mandatory for all students. Drinking too much alcohol can be hazardous to your health. Learning English phrasal verbs is quite tough. That's a tricky question. Finding a good job in my country is very challenging. The course was effortless. Overall, it was a very pleasurable holiday. The whole trip was a stimulating experience. New cars can be very pricey. Staying at nice hotels is costly. In my spare time, I like hiking in the mountains. In my leisure time, I like reading. I'm going to talk about a well-known actor. The person I'm going to talk about is renowned for his sporting talent. I'm going to talk about a celebrated writer. Al Capone was a notorious criminal. Over the last 10 years, there's been rapid development in mobile technology. Horror films are my preferred type of film. My most liked color is red. I find the TV show very amusing. The character was absolutely hilarious. My uncle is a witty person. It was an enjoyable event. It was a very pleasurable evening. Commuting by bicycle is beneficial for the environment. I try to eat wholesome food. These days, people in my country don't eat very nutritious food. I like the company where I work. It's a very supportive work environment. My manager is a model boss. It's a perfect house. I think it is essential for schools to have computers. I think parents play a vital role in a child's upbringing. My cousin is a very clever child. My uncle is a smart businessman. My uncle is a very astute businessman. She is a bright student. I watched a fascinating documentary on wolves. Being tardy is considered to be a bad character trait in my country. The principal industries in my country are coal, steel, and shipbuilding. I prefer contemporary buildings to old-fashioned ones. I think technology has had an undesirable impact on society. I believe it is an outdated method of learning. I have a friend who wears very unfashionable clothes. I think I am a well-mannered person. There are some very impoverished people in my country. There's a widespread opinion in my country that all politicians are corrupt. There's a prevalent belief in my country that all politicians are corrupt. Dancing with the Stars is a well-liked TV show in my country. Being on time is considered a positive character trait in my country. People in my country are becoming wealthier. My neighborhood is very secure. My city is well known for its distinctive buildings. My uncle runs a prosperous business. The conventional use of a mobile phone is to make calls and send text messages. A characteristic dish in my country is pierogi. Shopping online is very convenient. I don't know what you call it, but you use it to cut grass. I can't remember the word for it, but it's used for changing the TV channel. I can't remember the word for them, but they help you to see underwater. I've forgotten the name for it, but it's a type of fish with red meat and is normally quite expensive. I don't recall the word for this profession, but it's a person who helps passengers on a plane. I've forgotten the verb, but it's when you change the color of something, for example, your hair or your car.
If you are aiming for a very high band, you might consider using some advanced expressions like these.
The name of this crime is on the tip of my tongue, but I can't recall it. It's a form of crime where someone dishonestly takes money that is entrusted to him or her. The name of this condition has completely slipped my mind. It's when you have problems breathing. I've never come across the name of this animal in English, but it's a nocturnal bird with large eyes, a flat face, and a flexible neck.
Firstly, it is very important to fully understand the question, as I explained in an earlier video. Secondly, you can use the opportunity to show your communication skills. And thirdly, you don't need to worry about losing points. It will not negatively affect your score. Now, there are 3 situations in which you can ask for clarification. When you didn't understand something, when you didn't hear something, or when you need to check if you understood something correctly. Let's look at the first situation. You didn't understand something. Let's say the examiner uses a word or phrase that you didn't understand or that you have forgotten, for example, the verb exaggerate. You can say something like this.
Sorry, but could you explain what you mean by exaggerate? I haven't heard that word before. Could you explain what you mean? Sorry, I'm not sure what that word means. Could you explain it another way? Sorry, I don't know what exaggerate means. Could you explain it another way? Sorry, I've forgotten what exaggerate means. Could you explain it another way?
Now let's look at the second situation. You didn't hear something. If you simply didn't hear what the examiner said or asked, you can say something like,
Excuse me, I didn't quite catch that. Could you say it again? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Could you repeat it? I'm sorry, but would you mind repeating that?
Let's look at the third situation in which you may need to ask for clarification. You want to check your understanding. If you think that you understood what the examiner meant, but you are not 100% sure, you can simply ask. Watch these examples.
When you say family, do you mean my close family, or can I talk about my relatives? When you say hometown, do you mean the town where I grew up? Are you asking me if I like my job? By gadget, do you mean things like iPhones and cameras? When you say typical problems, are you including pollution, traffic, and things like that?
A final word about asking for clarification. Only ask the examiner questions if you need to. Do not ask for clarification after every question just to show off or use up time. This may negatively affect your score.